rodent control presentation by Peter Brasseur of Ecotech Pest Control. So our favorite subject, rodent control. If you want to step forward, and I believe, Hank, we have a PowerPoint.
That's correct, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, so what I'll do is I'll move out of the way so we can actually see the screen.
Right, I wouldn't want to do that.
Get the lights when you're ready, Mike.
Okay, let's, if you could, Tony, if you wouldn't mind. We'll just kill that one. There we go.
There you go.
That's perfect, thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Peter Brasseur. I'm with Ecotech Pest Control. I've been living in Huntington Woods for over 30 years, and my company is located here on Balfour. I think everybody has seen my trucks. So we have to discuss a little bit what is happening with the rat issue that we are facing in Huntington Woods. One of the questions that...
Mr. Brasseur, can I just interrupt? Can you speak into the microphone just so
Sure.
the folks at home get a good audio?
Both here together. Let's put one off. You're good.
Great, thank you.
One of the questions that we occasionally get is, why do we want to bother the rats? We should be able to live with them the way we live with the squirrels. And that's the reason why we don't want to live with rats. Rats communicate disease. I am not saying that we are on the brink of an epidemic because of rats. That's not the case. We have been handling the rat population well enough to where we don't have the problem they have out west with antivirus and some pockets of plague, but we want to keep it that way. That's why we want to make sure that the rats are under control and that they don't multiply in our property. We are dealing with so-called Norway rats. They are not from Norway. That's a moniker that the British gave them because they thought they came from Norway. They did not. They actually come from China. Now the Chinese say they come from Russia, but we don't want to go there. Their characteristic is that they don't climb on trees and they don't invade roofs the way you sometimes see on TV. Those are roof rats. They are native to the coastal region of the U.S. We don't have them here. The Norway rat, what we call them brown rats, live close to the ground. They live in burrows, and they like to dig holes called burrows where they live. Those burrows are actually pretty well designed. They have one entry point, one exit point, and they have one exit that they make where they got rid of all the debris that falls inside their burrows, and they build it to where when it rains, their burrows don't get flooded. They manage to evacuate the water. They are pretty sophisticated piece of engineering. Where they usually make their burrows and live near to where they feed. So one of the big question we have, one of the big challenge we have is to deny them food. Food for a rat can be just about anything that you and I would eat. They also eat dog feces and each other's feces. The control of dog feces and garbage is critical. It is critical that we have garbage cans that are steel and covered. If you have plastic garbage cans, they will chew through the plastic, and they will go through that no time at all. If you put the top of your steel can like a hat on top of a heaping piece of garbage, they will go through that too. One good trick that we like to use is to take the lid of the garbage can and tie it to the garbage can with a short bungee cord that keeps them from popping the lid off. The bird feeders. Birds are notorious for throwing the seed that they don't like right out of their feeders. So it doesn't matter if you try to make your bird feeder rodent-proof, they will just sit at the bottom of the feeder feeding on the seeds that the birds are throwing off. It may be nice to see birds into your backyard, but the trade-off is too much of a price to pay. We've had one house in Huntington Woods where the lady had security camera in her backyard, and we checked the security camera in the morning, she had half a dozen rats running around and picking up all the seed that the bird had thrown out through the day. The fact that the winters are getting milder also create a problem for us because they will survive the winter longer than they used to. Okay,
I'm gonna go one more.
all right. They have spread not only throughout the 48 states, they have spread to every part of the world except Antarctica. They are all over the place. They move mostly at night. The early morning is when they really start to do their foraging and they're looking for food. When they start, the female and the male have different patrolling pattern. The female will go to a short patrol, but she will go on her patrol 3 or 4 times a night. The male have a longer patrol as far as 100 feet away from the nest, but he only goes out twice a night. What we've got to make sure, we've got to eliminate clutter. They need 3 things to survive. They need harborage, food, and water. Clutter is where they live. If you leave a lot of debris in your backyard, they will manage to go hide under the debris. If you leave fruits accumulate on your ground, they will feed on the food that's on the ground. They have a funny way of feeding. They don't like anything new in their environment. If you provide them with a new food, they will look at it, they walk away. They look at it, they walk away. But once they got the idea that the food is eatable, they start to eat the food in large quantities. They eat a lot of it. That's where sometime, we'll show you when we have the trap, we make the trap actually innocuous for a while so they get used to the trap, and when we're ready to kill them, then we bait the trap for life. Okay, this is pretty well a picture of a burrow. Very often people mistake the burrows of chipmunk or the little hole that the squirrel dig when they try to bury their nut with a rat burrow. Rat burrow very noticeable. 3 to 4 inches in diameter. They excavate the dirt. It will actually seem like somebody has gone through your ground with one of those pole diggers. You know when you have a rat burrow. This is the base station we use. This base station here, yes. This is designed for poison bait. I do not recommend that homeowner use poison bait. It is dangerous. Dogs, and particularly dogs, are very susceptible to rat poison. We have squirrels that can get into the box, excavate the poison, drag it around. Dogs get into the bait, you have a problem. Under Michigan law, you are responsible when something gets into the bait, regardless of any precaution you may have taken to protect the bait. Dogs get into the bait, that's your problem. We use bait, and we are professional exterminator. We use bait with a great deal of caution. And I don't think that homeowners that are not familiar with all the things that goes on in the yard should be playing with poison bait. Is way too dangerous. This is another type of bait station. On this one, we have this little doodad here. This is just about as mean as it looks. This is called a T-Rex. So as you see, they put this into this bait station because, and I have to be careful when I close it because it'll break your finger. If you don't put it into a protective area, the squirrel will set it off, and you'll end up with half of a squirrel tail into your trap. I don't like to use this setup. What I like to do, and what I recommend people who are do-it-yourselfer to do, get yourself a milk crate and put 3 or 4 of those things under the milk crate. Put a paver on the milk crate. The squirrel cannot get inside the milk crate, but the rats can. So you can see whether you've caught something right away. You don't have to go full with the box and give the box the smell of a human hand, and it's a lot cheaper. You can buy the milk crate at Home Depot now that we cannot get them from the place that shut down the street. Okay. Buildings have to be rat-proof. If you have a shed, should be sitting on a proper concrete pad with a rat wall. They like to make burrows. They like to dig under the shed, because if you protect it, they don't have any animals going and digging up their burrows. So you have to be careful with the construction, and of course make sure that your houses the doors are tight and that it's in good shape. Do not store bird seed or garden stuff in the garage. Every garage got a strip. They can chew right through the strip. We end up with rats in the garage. We've had plenty of that. Yes, you got to stack up. If you have firewood, you have to stack the firewood up to 18 inches, I believe. Besides that, for another concern, store your firewood as far away from your house as you can. Not for the rats, carpenter ants. Firewood end up being infested with carpenter ants. You bring that big batch of firewood near the house, you'll end up with carpenter ants in your house, and you don't want that. The grass and the weed, that has been a problem with us at one time. We've had some residents who feel that they want a natural garden in their backyard. Natural garden in their backyard where you have weed 3 or 4 foot high means that you will never be able to control the rats. Now, we live on small lots. The fact that you don't mind to have that natural environment doesn't mean that your neighbor wants it. I've had a situation about a month ago, and I called Hank about it. I got called by a resident who had rats in her backyard, and I go to inspect the backyard, and she has rats in the backyard, but her backyard is absolutely spotless. Looked like a place out of home in the garden. Everything is picked up. No reason for rats to be there. I look over the privacy fence in the back of the yard, and the neighbor have dog feces and debris all over the yard. Now what can I tell that lady? In order to kill those rats, I'm going to have to attract the rats from her neighbor's house, and basically have her pay to get rid of her neighbor's rats, which I have an ethical problem with. So that's when we try to crack down on that type of situation. If you tear down a building, have it inspected to make sure that there is no rats inside the building. I understand in Huntington Woods it's not mandated yet, in Royal Oak it is. So you want to make sure that if you have rodents in the building, they don't scatter all over the place when you tear the building down. Yeah, feeding squirrel, absolute no-no. You may as well be opening a hotel for rats. They eat the same food. We don't feed squirrels. And again, feeding of the birds is a really bad idea. I know that birds are attractive. People like to see their birds, but you attract a lot of rats. Of course, do not let the pet food outside in containers. Some people like to leave water for their dog or food for their dog outside all day long. Not a good idea. Again, you're feeding the rats. The garbage, I'm a strong believer in steel garbage can. I know they're old-fashioned, but this is the only thing that will really protect you, not only from rats, but from raccoon as well. of course, you should not, as we discussed, you should not be using poison yourself outdoors. Placement of traps really depend upon the problem you have. As a pest control operator, we evaluate where the traps are needed. If you do it yourself, the rule of thumb is, if you believe that you need 1 trap, use 5. Because then the placement don't matter that much anymore. But don't use bait, use our T-Rex friend. You can bait that with peanut butter. You can bait it with bacon bits. They basically will eat anything. Anybody has any question? Question?
I have a question.
Okay.
You think that, we have specific ordinances in Huntington Woods dealing with trash issues, and we've had a lot of discussion about it over the years. When Tringali, the trash hauler, is through picking up trash, in a lot of instances, they turn the cans upside down and leave them on the ground. Is it your view that rodent control also depends on prompt removal of those from the curbside and placement back in the person's own garage or wherever they keep it? In other words, do you think that's a legitimate concern, or is it just hard to know depending on how clean the cans are?
Well, if the can is turned upside down, it's no longer going to be attractive to rodent because there is no food in there. The problem that happens is that sometimes they will spill trash.
Right.
When they
Remnants.
right, so you have leftover. I pick my garbage after garbage day every week, and they do the best they can, but that's an issue that may have to be addressed.
Yeah, I mean, we already have the ordinance. It's just, it becomes a matter of, well, somebody leaves their can, they're supposed to be off the street by midnight on Tuesday nights, but it's not uncommon to see some out on Wednesday. Most of the time, they're almost all gone by Thursday. The enforcement has increased over the years, so the compliance is better, but that concerns me. Now, just on dealing with the issue of the neighbor who had all the dog feces in the yard, so did you talk to the neighbor? Did you go over and talk to the neighbor?
You know what? I can only subject myself to so much abuse. I mean,
How Mr. Berry feels,
Perhaps I can offer a little bit of clarification on that, because Mr. Brasseur routinely has conversations with me regarding issues like that. The letter went out to the neighbors. The situation was corrected. The last re-inspection of the property indicated they had made a substantial effort to clean it back up.
That really is,
But
especially in a city like Huntington Woods, which has so many dogs. I mean, it is, I'm sure sometimes I think we should change the name from City of Trees to City of Dogs. And people love animals here, and and from time to time there's been discussion, about cats that people let out. And I mean, we have 2 cats, and one of them is outdoors, but some of the time. But, there are lots of them,
one interesting point with dog feces is that I feel the time of maximum enforcement should be the winter time, because the rats run out of their regular food in the winter time, and dog feces become the food of last resort. That's also the time of the year where people become very lax with picking up after their dog, because they don't go in the backyard. It's too cold. We leave the dog out, leave the dog run, do his business, come back in the house and close the door. But that's the time where we should really have the dog feces picked up. Because if we can't pick up enough dog feces in the winter time, you are really cutting down their food supply.
That's good too. Thank you very much. Anyone else have any questions?
And you did see the piece that came out from the city last week or the week before with, I believe, part of a mailing about rodent control. Yeah, I don't know if you saw.
No, I haven't seen it.
The city sent out
You should have received
a
it.
very detailed publication on that for people. I believe Mayor Pro Tem Roselle was the instigator of that. I just thought it was a very clear statement, because a year or so ago, when people were complaining, you know, about rat, you know, we have that listserv next door that, you know, what's the
Right.
city gonna do about the rat problem? And the answer is, it's not the city that has to do something about the rat problem, it's the individual resident. This is truly the situation, as I understand it, from the reading I did. Each person is responsible for this. It's, you know, when people say, well, you know, I saw a rat, well, is the research, I pull out an article out of Chicago, where if you see one, you can bet there's 50, I believe they
That's
kind of live
correct.
in colonies of 50 to 100, and within a close proximity to their food source. So when you see one, there's
You
a
have-
whole clan nearby.
You have quite a few.
Right.
There is a lot of time a misunderstanding by the public as to what pest control or rat control by the city is. You have a lot of cities, Detroit come to mind,
There.
where they have hundreds of miles of alleys that are right-of-ways that belong to the cities. You have a lot of garbage dumping. When you hear about a city doing pest control, you're talking about the city doing pest control on their own ground. They're gonna bait alleys, they're gonna bait vacant lot, they're gonna bait field that have left vacant. We don't have that situation in here. We don't have a whole lot of property except for the few parks and a little bit of alleys along Woodward that is well taken care of. We don't have that situation where the city has to go and bait its own ground. And people, when they hear, well, the city is baiting for rats, they figure the city is going into private homes and baiting private homes. No, they don't. That doesn't happen in Michigan.
Thank you very much. Very informative.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else question? All right, thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you, sir. You have a nice evening.
Thank you, you too. We did do a mailing, it was from the Public Works Department with several pieces of good information. This was one of them, and if anyone has any questions regarding this, they can get with Mr. Barry here in our planning department, and he can assist. I know he's gone out and done inspections in the past when needed, looking at properties and offering suggestions on how folks can try to control this problem, so we
Yes.
appreciate that.
And basically, actually, a lot of this came from you, to really put an increase on this. When we go out, we try to make suggestions for people to do this and to take care of it. It's not like we go out and immediately start writing violations and that. The goal here is to work with it. We all have a common goal. We live here, we work here, we're here. And the goal would be is to have a successful resolution to the rodent issue, which not only is in Huntington Woods, but it's completely in
Sure.
southeastern Michigan. This is not just a Huntington Woods issue.
No question about it. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.